I just wasted 5 hours drawing a reference that I thought was perfect. 5 hours later, I realized I didn't even like it. I had two references to choose from, and I picked the safer one. Clean face, subtle emotions, nothing covering the features, both eyes visible. Everything pointed toward it. So I started drawing. But the more time I spent looking at it, it just didn't feel like Yuji. And with 5 hours already invested in the drawing, I made the painful decision to start over. Because if there's one thing I've learned after drawing all these characters, it's that a great drawing can't save the wrong reference. For generating the reference, I decided to try ComfyUI for the first time. But man, this wasn't an easy path. I honestly thought my brain was going to explode. But after spending some time educating myself, I finally managed to make it work. Then I tested a bunch of different models. Some so heavy that my RTX 5070 was fighting for its dear life. Unfortunately, after all that experimenting, the results weren't exactly what I was hoping for. I mean, what is even this? So after wasting enough time, I did what I always do.
Kidding.
I went back to my fellow Stable Diffusion. Technically, I could have kept using it inside ComfyUI, but at that point I was far too lazy to figure out the entire node setup. So with my old reliable workflow, I generated around 2,600 images. Why? Because that's why. And eventually narrowed them down to these two finalists. After that, I upscaled and refined them with ChatGPT, did a little Photoshop cleanup, and finally had my references ready. The paper was already prepared for the drawing, and this time I realized something interesting. For the longest time, I thought I had to leave it stretched for days to get it completely flat. Turns out that's not really necessary. After a bit of experimenting, I found that around 8 hours is already enough to get a usable result, while 24 hours gives an even better one. So the thing is gently pulling the corners while taping the paper down, which seems to help straighten it even more. Good to know. Now let's move on to the drawing. By the way, for transferring the character on the paper, I used a light tablet. Very useful thing and time saver. Now let's get in the drawing process. The first thing I wanted to get right was the wing. It was also one of the main reasons I abandoned the first reference in the first place. The more I worked on the eye, the more confident I became that restarting had been the right decision. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy about having one less eye to draw. One thing I wasn't looking forward to, however, was the hand. For some reason, hands always seem to take forever. I don't like drawing hands at all. Every time I think I'm finally done, I take another look and immediately find something that feels off. Surprisingly though, the most annoying part of the entire drawing wasn't the face or even the hand. It was the buttons. I left them until the very end, as I always do, because I thought they were just simple gold buttons. Turns out they actually have a specific symbol on them. So naturally, instead of finishing the drawing, I spent some time researching Jujutsu Kaisen uniform buttons. After finding a better reference, I used ChatGPT to generate all 3 buttons with lighting that matched the original image and used those as references for the final details. Not how I expected to spend my evening, but at least they're accurate. Nobody will probably notice, but I will. And after around 20 hours, you can see the final result.